Welcome back to Dr. Leroy's Laboratory, where we're dedicated to having the discussion, the conversation that needs to be had. The ground rules, remember, is we're going to strip off all our bias. We're going to put on the freedom glasses. We're going to look at these issues through life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. As always, this is your first time listening. I highly recommend that you take the time, go back, listen to the first episode as we lay out the ground rules, what we're doing here. What we're trying to achieve. So with that being said, let's go ahead, do our best to remove our bias, put on the freedom lenses, take a deep breath. This is going to be a tough one. We're going to tackle equality. Now, equality has two definitions. The first one being the state of being equal, especially in status, rights, and opportunities. The second is the scientific definition, and that is a symbolic expression of the fact that two quantities are equal. So, the base question we want to ask at the beginning of this is, are we guaranteed equality under the Constitution? This is a difficult answer, and the reason it's a difficult answer is it has two separate answers. On one side, yes. We're all guaranteed equally the ability to pursue life, liberty, and happiness. However, we are not equal. We're all made differently. We have different genetic makeup that's ours. We didn't choose it. It's what we were born with. Some people are tall, some short, some big, some small. Some very athletic, some not so much. Some are born with high IQs, geniuses. Some are born with lower IQs. It's nothing they did. It was not their fault. But they were born with either a privilege or a hindrance. So we are not all born equally. Now, if I wanted to be a fighter pilot, that was my dream. Ever since I was a child and saw Top Gun, I was hooked. That's what I was going to do. And I did everything that I needed to do. I played every sport, was a member of the honor societies, had a 4.0 high school GPA, wrote an essay, got an appointment to Annapolis to the Naval Academy, graduated tops of my class. In every way, I met the mental requirements to be a fighter pilot. However, I'll never realize that dream because I'm 6'7" and I have poor eyesight. Now, is that inequality? No, it's not. If I wanted to be a pro basketball player, that 6'7" height would be a privilege. It would be a benefit that helped me pursue that dream. However, in the instance of wanting to be a fighter pilot, that 6'7", same height, is an absolute disqualifier. Now you say, well, that's not fair. Life's not fair. There's two options at that point in time. So my 6'7" height is what's keeping me from being a pilot. So either we change that standard and require the taxpayers to build a special jet just for me because I'm 6'7", or we maintain that standard and we find something else that I can do with my talents. That is not inequality. That's life. It doesn't matter what system of government you live under. Some people have different abilities than others, and it's those different abilities that make us special. You would not want me to work on your car. At the same time, you probably wouldn't want your mechanic to operate on you. Now, does that mean that the doctor is more important than the mechanic? No, it depends upon what's going on that day. If your car's broken down, then I assure you the mechanic's going to be the most important person in your life. Now, if you're sick, then chances are the doctor's a pretty important person to you. So, are you equal? Well, no, there's not equal status. There's not equal pay. There's not equal requirements either. This is a very, very difficult question, as we said, coming in, because there's a lot of bias. And I've been really pondering this question for several days in preparation for this and trying to find an analogy. What kind of analogy can we look at where we can demonstrate equal yet not equal? And my background being science is what I'm going to revert to on this. And we're going to use the analogy of the sea turtle. Now, you're all sitting there going, but we're not sea turtles. Granted, we're not sea turtles, but bear with me. I think you'll see where we're going to go with this. So there are 7 different species of sea turtles. They have different characteristics that set them apart to where they can be determined as an individual species. However, they have a lot of similarities. They have the exact same habitats. They spend the majority of their life in the ocean. If you want to be specific about it, I believe it's the pelagic zone. But they also all lay their eggs on the beach. They all come to certain stretches of beaches where they nest and they lay their eggs. They dig holes with their flippers. They bury the eggs. And some of the mothers even do decoy nest to decrease the chance of predation, give those turtles a better chance to get to the water. Now, only 1 in 1,000 of the hatchlings will actually make it to maturity. 1 in 1,000. They're all sea turtles. They're all equal. They all have the same habitat. They all have the same goal, yet they're not all born equal. Some mothers may nest 15 yards from the beach in a well-hidden dune with easy access to the water. While another mother, she may put her nest 100 yards away from the water in an area that's heavily trafficked by humans and also has a large population of birds, which are predators. It's no fault of the hatchlings where their nest was made, but at the end of the day, they still have the same goal. They have to get to the water. The turtles that parents put their nest close to the water, I guess we could call them privileged. They have the privilege of having a shorter distance, yet a higher chance of making it to the water. Those that nests were placed farther through the water with a lot more perils, they are disadvantaged. They have a farther distance to travel, and they have hurdles they have to overcome. However, they still have to get to the water. You're not guaranteed, even if you're 15 yards from the water, that you're going to make it. The only thing you're guaranteed is that you have to get to the water, and if you don't try, you won't make it. Your starting point is not determined by you. And you cannot change the starting point. We can't change where our parents built our nest. We can't change who our ancestors were. We can't change what our ancestors did or didn't do. All we can do is try to get to the water. We all are guaranteed under the Constitution the right to pursue life, liberty, and happiness. They guarantee you the ability to try to get to the water, but you're never guaranteed to get to the water, and you are never guaranteed that you would have equal ability. So not only does the distance the nest is placed from the water, where the nest is placed, increase or decrease the likelihood of a hatchling making it to the water, but there's also genetic characteristics that will increase or decrease that chance. The biggest being the size of the hatchling. The larger hatchlings are faster. They're easier. It's easier for them to evade predation and also cover more ground. Therefore, they have a higher chance of getting to the water than a smaller hatchling. So a smaller hatchling in this situation is disadvantaged. The larger hatchling is privileged. However, they still have to both try to get to the water. If the privileged turtle that's larger and faster doesn't attempt the journey, it's not going to make it 100%. If the smaller, genetically inferior, if you will, disadvantaged hatchling tries to make it to the water and the privileged one doesn't try to get to the water, then the roles are reversed, and the smaller turtle has a much higher chance of making it to the water than the other one does. So we can't change where our parents placed our nest. We can't change our starting point, but we can run the race. We have to run the race. Now, let's look at that question again. Okay, so are we or are we not equal under the Constitution? And again, it's the same answer in the beginning. Yes, we all have equal ability to pursue life, liberty, and happiness. We all are equally able to not be happy, fail, and not make it. But we're given the opportunity to try, but we must try. Now, you can't change characteristics. You can't take a 6'7" person and change it so that they meet the physical standards to fly a fighter jet. You can't take a person that's born with a lower IQ and teach them to be a computer programmer. There's a certain set of inborn and inherent skills that have nothing to do with education. They just have to do with gifts. Some people can work with wood. Some are very musical. Now, there are people who are born that are musicians, savants, if you will. You can see them. You can see them today. You can hear them when you play. You can hear the difference in their ears. I am not one of those people. I do enjoy music. I do enjoy playing. However, I will never play on an album. I will never sing and record a multi-platinum album. Why? I can't sing. I wasn't born with that gift. But I do have other gifts, and I'm free to pursue those gifts just as every person in the United States is free to pursue their gifts. And that's the equality that is guaranteed you under the Constitution. And that is Dr. Leroy's prescription for today. Remember, we all have to run the race. There's nowhere that says you can't help somebody else in their race, but you cannot limit their life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness to change the starting point for another turtle. You cannot move the nest. Nobody's going to move the nest closer. The race still has to be run. So the goal of the majority of the people I think that would be listening to this, and this me saying I think could be construed as bias, and it's not. But what we want to see is the reason we're doing this and listening is we want to move that nest a little bit closer to the water for our children. And then if our children move that nest a little bit closer to the water for their children, that's the American dream. However, our children have to run the race regardless of where their starting point is. So I hope you enjoyed this. Hit that like and subscribe button. Please feel free to leave comments and suggestions for future content. And as always, try to remove the bias and look at things through those freedom glasses.